Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our latest Beyond the Headlines here at the Post and Courier. We're coming to you from the Post and Courier's Columbia newsroom. Actually, well, I'm not in the newsroom. Jessica's in the newsroom at Hardin and Gervais. Many of you probably have passed by it. Obviously, also, I always like to note the fact that Jessica, we're at a very busy intersection. Don't be surprised if you hear a siren, a horn, some radios, that kind of thing. And I'm coming here from my home here in Columbia. Obviously, we have 13 journalists based here in the capital city. We're going to be talking about a big issue that's going on in Columbia, but also really affects a lot of folks statewide. And that is the growth of the hospitals here, and especially in particular, the expansion by MUSC, the Charleston-based medical school and hospital system that seems to be reaching out beyond the Lowcountry, and obviously is about to plant a flag in the capital region. So again, I'm here with Jessica Holdman. She's a business reporter for us at the Post and Courier Columbia. She's been with us for 2 years, and she's covered sort of healthcare and some of the hospital news that we've had in the Columbia region since she's arrived here. She's broken a couple of stories on this issue, including some news that obviously involved Prisma's interest in some of these hospitals initially had in that MUSC ended up buying, as well as breaking the story about MUSC's purchase. So Jessica, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Well, great. What I want to find out from you is, first of all, not everybody knows everything. So if you could share a little bit about how we got here.
Sure. So in the Columbia market, there are 3 main hospital systems. The one in question that is about to be purchased by MUSC is Providence Health. It's a longtime hospital owned by the Sisters of Charity, a Catholic organization, for many years. It is most recently owned by LifePoint Health, which is a for-profit hospital system out of Tennessee. And it's changed hands a number of times over the years, but again, LifePoint is the most recent owner of Providence, as well as Kershaw Health in Camden and the Fairfield Emergency Room. And then the major player in town is Prisma Health. Prisma came out of the merger of what was Palmetto Health and the Greenville Hospital System. When that merger took place, the headquarters were moved to the Greenville area. And they are the largest hospital system in the state, covering the Midlands and the upstate. And then finally, we have our longtime community hospital over in Lexington County, Lexington Medical Center. Started out as a county hospital formed by the county. Group of people there got together, wanted to ensure healthcare for the area. And I guess in recent years, they've actually made the leap across the river. They have opened a surgery center in the northeast side, on the northeast side of Columbia. So kind of their first time venturing across the country.
Hey, also just a reminder, we're here to take your questions. There's a Q&A bubble at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Feel free to pop in a question. We'll leave some time at the end for some questions and answers if we can get some in. So please do that. And also in the chat, you'll find email addresses and Twitter handles for both Jessica and me. Jessica, let me go back a little bit for a moment. Obviously, Providence has been in play. Providence got sold 5 years ago from the Sisters of Charity to LifePoint. But what happened right before that? There seemed to be a deal, I think, with Prisma at some point. And tell folks a little bit about that and then what happened.
Sure. So LifePoint Health was looking to sell the Providence hospitals as well as Camden and Fairfield, so all of their properties here in South Carolina. And Prisma was really the first hospital at the table for this. They had filed to take it over through what they call a COPA. It's a unique situation to Prisma in the state. It is one of the few that actually operate under this system, and it acts as a little bit of a protection from federal antitrust laws. It's basically the state saying that, we'll regulate and make sure that there isn't a monopoly. And so they operate under these a little less stringent antitrust laws. And when they were trying to bring the Providence properties under their hold, they were challenged in court by Lexington Medical Center, which is their main competition here in town. And Lexington Medical Center said, you can't do it this way. It was from talking to experts around the country, it was a little bit strange.
And also, I mean, to a certain degree, obviously there was a concern about the competition. If Prisma took over one of its competitors in Columbia, we would go from having 3 hospital systems here in Columbia to having 2. I know that was always a bit of concern that folks had raised in all of this. So in comes MUSC. What's been MUSC's recent history? Why are they interested in being here in Columbia and expanding?
So MUSC had largely remained on the peninsula down in Charleston for 200 years, roughly. And it's only been within the last 5 years or so that they have expanded out of that area. They bought hospitals in Chester, in Florence, Lancaster, and the express interest in getting into some of the more rural hospitals, trying to keep those rural areas served. They are even building a new hospital, and I believe it's Williamsburg, where the hospital was flooded. So bringing health care back to that area.
Well, so obviously MUSC is coming in. What has been their history? The sense that they've been in Charleston, they've expanded. Do they have any sort of presence? In the Midlands? Do they treat any patients in the Midlands?
Sure. They treat roughly 1,000 patients in the Midlands already, and they have a couple of doctors' offices here that they are specialty doctors and already have a couple offices that operate here as well.
Okay, wonderful. Well, what ended up being the sale price with MUSC being essentially a state agency? We know a little bit more about the deal than maybe we would if this was obviously a deal among private companies.
Sure. So MUSC is purchasing the hospitals for $75 million, and figures that were shared with us is that actually when Prisma was looking, the price was closer to $110 million, and an appraisal of the hospitals actually values it at $122 million. So a bit of a discount there.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, and by the way, we're getting reports finally, Jessica, you're coming through a little bit more clearly now. So that's
good.
Obviously, thank you everybody for putting up with us on this. Generally, Jessica, what was your reaction to the MUSC purchase of the hospitals? What kind of reaction did it get?
Sure. At least from local lawmakers, you heard a lot of high praise for MUSC coming in. A big reason being that it would make it so that there would still be 3 hospital systems in the Columbia area. It would encourage competition, which is known to keep prices lower. And also, a couple of the local politicians had had some issue with Prisma, saying they'd forgotten their roots. They were based in Greenville. They were acting like a monopoly.
What we're going to do real quick, and this is obviously welcome to the modern times. Jessica, why don't you sign off for a moment and sign back in? Maybe we'll get a cleaner Wi-Fi connection. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a couple of other things that are related to what we're doing here in Courier, Columbia, while Jessica kind of maybe comes out and then she comes back, and so we can hear all of her good answers coming back. And again, we're sorry about the technical difficulties. One thing I do want to mention is that Post and Courier Columbia is spending the next few weeks having a booth at Soda City. We're right there at Boyd Plaza, right in front of the Art Museum. You can come see reporters there each week. Jessica's been there, I've been there. David Clary, our food writer, will be there this week. So if you want to get the latest in food news and drink news, he'll be right there. What we're doing is we're obviously encouraging people to sign up for our free newsletters. We have a bunch of free newsletters you can get. I kind of call it the window shopping to be able to look at the Post and Courier if you don't want to subscribe right away. Though we are running 2 subscription deals right now, and we'll tell you about them at Soda City. Now that Jessica's back, hopefully everything's going to be okay. We're going to come back from this commercial message and go back to our main programming. So we were talking a little bit about the reaction from of it, that the politicians locally were pretty happy. They were, the idea that there were some folks who were not happy that Prisma had a choice between headquartering in Columbia or in Greenville, and they decided to do Greenville. And I think also, obviously, I would imagine also with lawmakers, there's support for a state agency in that sense. Is there anything more to add to that, would you say, Jessica?
I think that pretty much sums it up.
Okay, very good. Well, sometimes that's what a boss does. He ends up doing that kind of thing. All right, so number 1, Prisma. Number 2, MUSC. These are the 2 largest hospital systems we have in the state, and they're coming head to head. How do you think how are you being told that's going to look at this point? And what are some of the other factors that may come into play that now that you might have 1 versus 2 here in town?
Sure. So this is this will be MUSC's probably their first foray into a more competitive market. They have been expanding out into Berkeley County, where they're expected to face some competition down there. But this is really the first time that they'll be going head to head with another major competitor, as opposed to coming into an area where they are the sole provider or are the main provider, the largest provider. So it remains to be seen, I guess, how that will play out in terms of how it will affect patient care and prices and everything. But in theory, that should be good for customers. Competition, again, is going to keep the prices down.
One thing I would note, by the way, is that of course MUSC is used to a little bit of competition in Charleston with all the hospitals there. Of course, they're more of a legacy hospital. They've been a dominant provider in that area. Now they're going to go head to head. In another metro market. It's not going to be, as you say, a rural area where they're going to come in.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I guess another interesting aspect of competition is MUSC is a medical school, and they're coming in.
So again, we're having technical difficulties. I apologize about this. What Jessica was talking about is that essentially one of the other interesting parts about the sale, and I'm summarizing what you brought up, or what Jessica brought up, which is you're not going to have medical schools going head to head. The University of South Carolina is about to invest $300 million in a new medical school complex at the Bull Street District, right near Prisma's main hospital in Columbia. Now you have MUSC, obviously what's considered the main, medical school in the state, putting a flag down in Columbia. So it'll be interesting to see sort of how you have these sort of 2 medical schools, these 2 schools that are obviously, training doctors, training all sorts of specialists right here in town, and how that's going to play a role, especially considering the new move that USC is trying to make, with moving from its site right now at the VA Center on Garner's Ferry Road to the Bull Street site that it hopes to do. And that $300 million project is right now the largest project that any college has ever undertaken in the state of South Carolina. that outside, of course, of any sort of athletic facilities, but really it's the largest project. So it comes at a very interesting time for here. And Jessica is back, and hopefully our technical problems are gone, but we'll see how that goes at this point. Jessica, after we talked about that, so the bottom line is, what is this going to mean for patients? I mean, they're going to, obviously, folks are going to wonder what this will mean in the way of cost, care, those kinds of things.
Sure. Well, I guess one of the things that MUSC has stated is that they would like to expand services here in Columbia. In particular, they've talked about neuroscience, they've talked about orthopedics, which not only MUSC, but the other hospital systems in the area has seen a need for. They're bringing their cancer care specialties to the Columbia area, and they've also said that they'll be able to step in and help with more complex cardiac care, cardiology, and some of the more complex surgeries when it comes to heart health.
At this point too, one of the interesting things is that history with Lexington Medical, and being a third player. Again, get three players in Columbia, which is some people see it as an advantage, of course, not having the consolidation. One of the things I do want to note is, of course, there's been this history about all the hospitals kind of fighting with each other, over obviously the Heart Center. People will remember from back almost close to a decade ago of Lexington wanting to start its Heart Center and everyone fighting that, and that becoming a big issue. So it's interesting to see sort of how this is all kind of played out and kind of worked itself out over the years. That hopefully that these three can coexist here, and maybe not fight each other in the operating rooms rather than the courtroom at this point would be probably something that people are looking for. I want a reminder. I know as I said, we've had the glitches, but I was wondering if again, reminder that you can put Q&As, put your questions in the Q&A section, and here's an interesting question from Jed. I'm not sure if we know the complete answer to this, but Jed's asked a good question. How will we know if preserving three systems here in Columbia promotes competition if the hospital rates remain opaque? The hospitals are currently, the idea being that, we're supposed to, I think, under certain rules, be able to learn more about prices, but, does it really matter if I still don't know the difference in the cost of getting my gallbladder?
I know that on the federal level, there has been numerous pushes for more transparency in pricing, and just the principles of economics is sort of what we base the idea of more competition garners better prices. I think the other thing to keep in mind, a lot of times hospitals will talk about reimbursement rates of how much they are reimbursed for services, particularly when providing care to Medicare and Medicaid patients, and the level of reimbursement that they receive from the insurance companies. They cite that as a financial difficulty, which has led to consolidations over the years as well.
Right. And Kathy wants to know, do we have any specifics for Camden, for Kershaw Health?
As far as
anything that we know about, anything that we know, are there any details? And real quick, I've gotten a couple of quick questions about what this might mean for employment.
Sure. So MUSC has said that they will keep all employees that wish to make the jump over, and in coming years will likely expand the number of folks that they employ at all of the facilities. I guess Camden in particular, one issue that they were concerned about in the beginning was you're changing from a for-profit hospital system where they were collecting tax dollars to a non-for-profit. That would have happened whether Prisma took over or now that MUSC, the state agency, is is taking over, and they've since adjusted their budgets accordingly, so that it's less of an issue now for them.
Emerson has an interesting question. Back in the day when Palmetto Health bought Baptist Hospital, it was affiliated with the Baptist Church, of course. Providence was associated with Sisters of the Charity, a Catholic organization that, of course, changed when LifePoint got involved. Do we get a sense that religious affiliation matters anymore in hospitals, or is that more of an, obviously maybe something that's becoming more old school at this point?
Sure. I know in this case that MUSC has stated that they won't be continuing the Catholic affiliation. I think as far as religious affiliation goes, I mean, it's probably more of a personal preference in that sense for folks. I mean, there are still chain hospitals out there that are affiliated with various faiths as well. Catholic Health Initiatives is a major Catholic chain across the country. The Bonds Corps, I believe, has an affiliation as well.
Do you get a sense that people choose a hospital because of like a religious affiliation or that kind of thing, or is it really in the end which doctor I like, or if they can hunt around on price and figure out, that maybe that they can get a better deal? What ends up, I think, being a factor as far as what you understand in people choosing where to go, considering, again, places like Charleston, places like Greenville, places like Columbia, you have some choices.
Sure. And I mean, I do believe your choice in doctor, finding a doctor that you like, is probably a big driver for many folks. But for some folks, it is very important to have that religious affiliation, and that may also be what drives their choices.
Wonderful. Well, I want to, first of all, we're sort of at the end of our time here. So I want to say, first of all, thank you for everyone who joined us today. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties, but I think we were still able to get, obviously we finally heard everything Jessica had to say. It took a little more, maybe a little longer than we wanted. But that's why it's also important too, also that you have Jessica's in the chat, you have Jessica's email if there was something a question you have, or a thought, or something for us to pursue, even a story tip. We would love to hear about it. Tell Jessica and me about it. We want to know, and we want to pursue these things, especially in the Columbia area. But of course, we work statewide. We have the offices in Greenville and Myrtle Beach and Charleston. In Columbia, we have our sister paper in Aiken. So we're a little bit all over the place. So we'll do that. I want to thank, of course, Jessica for taking the time and being here today. And I want to just remind you that we're going to email a copy of this recording to everyone who signed up. This will also end up on our YouTube page as well. So if people missed it but want to catch up with it, go to the Post and Courier's YouTube page. Just a reminder that we have the free newsletters that you can sign up for. Please do that. You can sign up for as many as you want and get and fill your box. But obviously, it's a way of learning of what we're doing in all sorts of things, from the military to politics to obviously the specific areas that we cover, such as Columbia. And within Columbia, we have several of them, including a business newsletter that Jessica is a part of, usually a couple times a week. And on that note, also, the one way to support what we do and how we do it, and all the good work that Jessica's done. As I said, she broke several stories regarding this, the deals, the Prisma deal happening, then not happening, then the MUSC deal happening. This is the one who broke it. If you want to support what we're doing, if you want to pay, you want to do that, pay us. And again, I'm in my house. I got to pay. I got a mortgage to pay, everybody. It doesn't come cheap. But in all seriousness, for that, you get some great information. You get access to the state's largest news source, and that's what's really more important than my mortgage, honestly. And for you, and in the end, if you can do that, you can go to postandcourier.com/Columbia. Hit the subscribe button. We're offering a great deal, 4 months for $4. Also, if you happen to see one of our 13 journalists that we have in Columbia, including Jessica or myself, we have cards that can get you half off an annual subscription. That's a better deal than the 4 for $4. That's a secret. But you want to do that. But the 4 for $4 is a good way to obviously get yourself introduced. If you're ready for a whole year, find us and we can hook you up with that deal. And again, you're going to be out at Soda City. Go see David Clary. Say hello to him. Give him give him your latest food news, your latest food binge. He wants to hear about those things. And again, I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to thank everyone for watching, and thank you for caring about good journalism. Hey, everybody have a good week. All right.
Post and Courier, being here in Columbia, it's our goal to really help you understand the issues. The most important thing to me as a journalist is getting at those stories that no one else is going to tell and looking out for the people in the community where I live. Investing in a local news subscription is what allows our reporters to spend the time telling the stories that will have the most impact on your life.